Mic check 1 2. here, to the growth in the space and amenities. Aren't these phone booths really neat? But please, yes, make sure you try the food. Marie's Kitchen catered this evening. It's Haitian cuisine. We have some wine as well as water bubblies and things. So we want to thank everyone for coming, attending. We want to thank all of our community partners and culture. Braid River Collective, Catamaran, the Grotto and York Community Center, White Rose Ventures, of course, York County Economic Alliance, and there's a ton other here. Bloom, the Bridge, Candy Factory, Launchbox, JD Brown Center, Oxygen Ventures. They're all on the back of your pamphlet. I hope you guys grab one of those. So that you can make sure you tune in. These are really active community partners across central Pennsylvania, and I'm pretty sure that's how they came up with the concept of Keystone Merge, that we're really merging all of these communities. 30 minutes isn't that far of a drive, so some folks might be here from York, Lancaster, or all of us Harrisburg HBG folks in the building. I'm so excited to be here and be a part of this evening.
Elise, why don't you tell us a little bit more about Black?
Okay, yes, so Black by La Cultura is a community. We offer coaching, courses, and community for early stage CEOs, and we really work with minority-owned businesses. MWDBEs stands for Minority Women Disabled Enterprises. So, the real goal is, just like Keystone Merge, is to see these entrepreneurs start, but then to see them evolve, scale, and grow, and really become vital stakeholders to enrich and develop the entire central Pennsylvania. Small businesses are the backbone of America, so we really want to see businesses last longer.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you, Elise, for all your hard work. Elise is also, we'll talk to you a little bit about Young Professionals of Color as well, which is Elise is also a part of. She's our membership director. I'm the vice president of Young Professionals of Color. We actually have our one of our directors, YPOC directors, here as well. Shout out to Sharina, who also had some really awesome.
She pitched here last night.
She pitched here last night, right? So there's a lot of great work going on just between the two of us and with all of you. So we're so happy to see all of you here today.
Yeah, that you want to get to know everyone in this room.
Every single person.
You really do.
Absolutely correct. And we're here to learn about the great things that people are creating in our community, right? I mean, it sounds, it's only Alexa believes it. We're here to learn about the great things that people are doing in our community, right? Yes, yes. And to provide real-time support to entrepreneurs. Tonight, you will hear from two entrepreneurs who will present for 10 minutes, and then we'll have 10 minutes to discuss and offer help for the challenges they have identified with their offerings. A big thank you to our caterer, Miss Marie's Kitchen. Please eat the food, because if I take it all home, I'm definitely going to gain 10 pounds by tomorrow. And also, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about Young Professionals of Color. Like Keystone Merge, like Black, we're here to support young folks who are professionals in business, even people who don't traditionally think of themselves as professionals or business owners or anything like that. And what we do, our mission is to create community for the Black and Brown Professional Collective. And we do that by offering events, hosting informal meetups, by partnering with different organizations like Keystone Merge and many others around the city, county, and state. You may have been able to come to some of our Juneteenth offerings this year for Juneteenth HBG in June. It was an amazing week full of all kinds of different events pulled off by over 60 different sponsors, funders, organizations, and people who believed in the mission of making a long-lasting legacy Juneteenth event in the state, in the capital of the state, but that it was actually the first state in the nation to have an abolition structure. So we are sitting in a historical city, in a historical state, and Young Professionals of Color, came together with a lot of organizations to make that go off extremely well. Look for some more information about that coming up soon.
Talk about ecosystem.
Listen, to ecosystems, Elise actually put me onto this concept. When I first met her, she was like so excited about the work we were doing. I had already heard about her too and all the work she was doing. She's like, you guys are like the connectors. And that's all we want to be. We want to connect different parts of the ecosystem together so that we all are successful together, so that we all thrive together, and that we all come up together, right? We don't want to leave anybody behind. Some people get left behind because they feel like they don't have a place to connect and plug into, and they leave. And that's why we are so serious about creating community. We're very serious about that. And we've seen it over the years kind of spawn off into different things where people take the idea of creating community that they've learned with us and they go out and they create more communities. And that's what it's all about. The community is not a monolith, so we need all the different parts of the community to spawn different groups and different offerings so that we have a full, rich picture and a full, rich community within which everyone can thrive. Okay, well, that's my whole spiel. Thank you very much. I'd like to introduce our first entrepreneur. His name is Chris, and he's going to be his company is Faster Workouts.
Thank you very much for having me. Very excited to be here. So I only have 10 minutes, so we're going to get to it. So I'm a primary care doctor. Day job is at Penn State. I see patients and I do exercise research. Been doing that for quite some time. But the problem we run into a lot is that strength training is this amazing thing. It delivers unbelievable health benefits. Only 20% of people do it, even though they know they should and they really want to. But the problem is when people get older, about 25% of people over 65 say that they have serious difficulty walking or climbing stairs, which is the beginning of the end of their freedom. So it's a huge, and the only thing that fixes it, there's no drugs, devices, you can use a cane, of course, there's accommodations, but the only thing that fixes it is some form of exercise. Strength training is a big one for it. But the problem with strength training is that compared to walking or running, strength training is actually very complicated. There's a lot of questions you have to ask to yourself. What exercises? How much weight? How many times per week? Am I doing them right? When should I increase? How hard should I work? There are more questions, but it's actually really complicated. And so when we've done some of the market research for this, we do find, though, that when we ask people if they want to get stronger, they wish they did more exercise for strength, we get 90% say yes. If we say if we could make it simpler for you, would that be good for you? The vast majority say yes. And then they also actually are engaged. So in the last year, about 80% of people say they thought about buying a piece of home equipment to get stronger. So we know that there's real interest in the market research. But in the academic research, what I end up finding is that, interestingly, the research shows that you only need to do a few sets of any exercise in a given week. 80% of the strength gain that you could ever get will come from the first 2, 3, or 4 sets per week. So you can do a lot, but you don't need to do much. And these brief strength workouts are really effective, but you won't see a gym offer them because why would you offer a program that takes shorter to do than it does to drive to the place? And really, there's no home gyms focused on it either. So these brief strength workouts are like buried. They're buried in the sea of offerings. There's a lot of competition in the home strength gaining market, but the formula is fairly similar. It is offer as many exercises as possible on the theory that people like to mix it up. They want variety, and more is better. And so that is the theme. You'll see them all. They all come with these huge posters with 38 different exercises. Doesn't answer all the questions that people have, though, about what to do exactly. And so during COVID, when people couldn't go anywhere, we started working on trying to get patients just to do 2 exercises per day. 30 seconds of push-ups, 30 seconds of squats. And it shocked me that people really stuck with it. So they really loved the simplicity of it, the directness. They didn't have to answer any questions. It's like, here's 30 seconds. How many can you do? Here's how you do them. We made a video for one, video for the other. We had amazing results, and it really told me that more people would do it maybe if we could make it easier for them. And so now the question that we're really trying to figure out with this is, if we make it short, will more people try? We know short works, but will more people engage? Can we drive that number up in terms of percentage? So this is our MVP. So we've been working on this for the last 4 months or so. So what we have is a compact home gym specifically designed for a 5-minute full body strength workout. You can do your whole body in 3 exercises, turns out. We added 2 other ones to it. But basically we use sandbag fitness, so we use sand, and fortunately for our MVP, speaking of connectors, we had help from Helen, who introduced me to somebody who owns a sand company locally. And so Tiffany Spangler, who I met at the Lancaster Merge. So basically we use just 2.5-pound bags because people don't like to increase the weight. They get very intimidated to go up. So you want to keep that small. So with these exercises, with these pieces of equipment, you can do the 5 exercises. We have an app that helps you know how to do them and then whether you should increase or not, which is one of the big questions people have. So I make a new video each week. We put it up there. People work out with me. So we have an app, equipment. We're going to offer video coaching because a lot of people still don't know how to do the exercises, even if I make a video. A lot of people want their hands held a bit. And we just try to really, really simplify it. So we've stripped it down quite a bit. So our target market is actually people over 50. So by the time you hit 50, everyone feels weaker. And they've already seen their parents pass away or come close to it. They've already seen the physical problems that are going to accrue, and they already feel it themselves. So we're going after them. We feel like 50 to 60 is about that last chance you get before the final exam. When if you really want to stay independent, you got to build some strength in that decade. We know the numbers are good. A lot of people want to get stronger. They consider themselves beginners. And there's a lot of people in this group. Would younger people want it too? Maybe. That's not our target. But we think this is the goal. This is what we're going after. There's a lot of people in that group. So here's the problem. That was the story. So here's the problem that brings us today, which is how to prioritize core competencies versus outsourcing. I figure the people in the room would know this better than I would. But over the last year, I've been doing a lot of these things. We found some help for a bunch of them. I have a director of coaching who's been working closely with me. We have our app designer out of Pakistan. We have a social media person. But it's shocking how much of the work actually you have to build so many skills. I can't get people in Pakistan to write advertisements for people in the United States, right? So we've done a ton of copywriting. Web design, they can put it up. They don't know what should be there. So a lot of these are skills that are needed to take it to the next level if our MVP works. But the question really comes up is, and a lot of it's it's a physical product, right? So somebody has to make that. Somebody has to box it. Somebody has to do that. How do people make decisions about what to keep and build, and what to outsource? That's all I got. That's the question. Please. And you can ask questions, of course. I went over a lot of things, but
I'm just guessing, based on your background, that you would consider your own core competency the coaching program design?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I know what exercises people could do. I can coach them on a video. I can watch them and tell them exactly what they should do next.
And that probably would be where the real intellectual property is in this business. It's probably not necessarily the equipment. It's really how you've designed the program.
Absolutely, yeah. Actually, several of the pieces we basically had them shipped over from China with our logo on it. We picked out, had a dozen shipped. We tested a bunch. So most all of them now. Our version 2 we might do ourselves. But again, that's the question: do we want to really design that ourselves? But yeah, the coaching piece is the piece that we think is our IP.
Well, I just wondered if that helps you prioritize. Isn't that the center of gravity of your business, and just about everything else can be outsourced? I'm not sure I completely understand the question, but I'm thinking your priority is the coaching program design.
Yeah. So that suggestion leads to find somebody to manufacture it, right? And do that. Okay. We can inform the design. They would do all the manufacturing.
I'm not thinking there's a huge amount of margin in the equipment. What's really valuable is I can build you a 5-minute workout that really works.
Right. Okay. And what led me to this is somebody got connected with another person who makes fitness gear, and he basically said, you know, you have a core competency and you're sort of ignoring it. So I kind of wondered, how do people think through it? Steve?
So I would start with a couple questions. First off, I assume you have already decided that these are all like buckets of tasks, right? That have work attached to them that need to get done, right?
True. Yeah.
So I assume that you've already decided that they all have extreme important strategic importance to your company, to the growth of your company, right? So they're not optional, and there's a strategy behind each one, right?
Absolutely.
Have you kind of really articulated to yourself what that strategy is for each one? So there's the strategy of the company, right? And each one has to tie back to that, but then there's a strategy for each one of those things, like how to execute it. Have you thought about that?
Most all of them we've been either doing or directing. So in that process, I guess there's always strategies and tactics, right? We've certainly gotten into the tactical level, but within that, try to figure out what do we want to accomplish and then create the tactics to get there. So I don't know if they answered the
the
question.
only reason I was going there is because like when you talk about how to make these kind of decisions on what you have to do, I think you have to first separate out two concepts, which is there's a why each one of those is important, right?
Okay.
And then there's a whole bunch of what's, right? What needs to be done?
Why?
And that's all the real basic stuff. And so if you can pull out the why, because you're always going to be responsible for the why. You can't escape that because you're an entrepreneur, you're running a small company, like that's going to be yours for a long time, that strategy. But once you pull out the why stuff, you can really focus on the what. And when you focus on the what, maybe you can kind of tear those apart into the very basic stuff that's kind of easy to delegate and stuff that's maybe a little more complex, because that's going to determine the type of person you need. And I guess the last thing I would suggest is when you figure out those what's, you guys got to look at and say, which ones are easiest to train somebody else to do it up to my expectations? Because that's really the hard part, right? You can delegate everything, but to make sure that it's done the way you want it to be done, you've got to be able to teach somebody how to do that.
So you're saying it starts with a thought process of saying, why?
Yeah, why is it important?
Why is it important? And then what do I want to get out of each of those? And which piece?
And then what
yeah.
needs to be
What
done
actually
for
needs
each
to be
one?
done.
Like you might not have to go down into deep detail because like I would just look at order fulfillment. That's easy to outsource, right? Because it's important to your business. Success there is important, but there's people who are experts in that, absolute experts, and it's really process-based. And there's not a lot of customization in it. So, that's one that there's already a whole bunch of options to outsource. So you might not have to get down into the real granular tasks because other people are experts in that. But some of them you might have to get into some granular stuff to really figure out what can I teach somebody to do and what's going to be just more easier for me to just do it myself because it's going to take me a year to teach somebody how to do it. I think that's really the question that it would hinge on. How easy is it to teach, I would guess.
Thank you. Thank you. Please.
Why did you say prioritize core competencies? And do you believe all of these, are you saying that you believe all of these are core competencies?
No, they're all things that need to happen.
Okay.
Some of those we're really good at. Some of those we just had to get it done.
So what are the core competencies then?
I would say that we're sort of the coaching program, exercise program and coaching is probably the piece that certainly I think that your comment,
agree.
yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
I agree. I just wanted to hear you say it because I'm trying to make sense of the whole list, which I think is an excellent list, but I just don't think they're all core competencies, right?
No.
I think we agree there now. Right, yeah. So coaching and coaching delivery, coaching program design and delivery, I think are you, for all intents and purposes. You're the brains behind the operation.
There you go.
And then all the rest of the stuff is a support system for your core competence, those two things which are the core of everything. Again, because honestly, people can get sandbag equipment from anywhere.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you are the person that makes this unique and makes it attractive I have never heard anyone tell me that doing a minute or two workout a day is going to do anything.
Yeah.
It's always like, and that's what makes it so great, because it is absolutely accessible to almost every single person on the planet if we're thinking about it the right way. So that's a huge market. Of course, you got to whittle it down, but I'm thinking how many people it's so accessible to when you talk about you being the core competency. So that was my first part. Second, I think we are at 10 minutes. Second, what is your market is people over 50, and how are you thinking about the different demographics in those age ranges? So let's say people above 50 who are urban, suburban, rural, people who are above 50 who are college educated, not college, like what are some of your other breakdowns as far as like demographics and how to, and maybe even further, a further look, how would you think about marketing to those kinds of individuals?
Well, we've done so far, so we're in the MVP phase, so by the middle of October, we hope we can be shipping. We've tested Facebook ads for the last few months and really just figured out what were the highest performing ones without a huge concern about who the people on the end were. And I guess our feeling was we would learn some of that during the MVP phase. I think women are probably going to be women, almost always are for these. But a lot of men seemed interested too. So I don't know that, I think we'll learn that. So we're kind of not being specific about it. I realize that's not an answer, but.
No, that's an answer.
Okay.
Thank you.
So it's we's like me. If you turn it upside down, no. But I have a director of coaching who I meet with, and she's helping me to hire the people and train them and create the program or what we'd expect them to do and how would we verify that, how would we do QI. So I work with her a lot, and I have a team in Pakistan who really has helped a lot to do the app development. It's all done by a group there that I found through Fiverr and now I've been working with for the past year. And they have a social media person too who's helped me to test the ads and do that and do some kind of optimization of a website. That's probably the me right now. And obviously there's Tiffany who's helped out, and so Tiffany Spangler will help. Her company will help out to kind of create the bags. Bag and ship the first version, but that's the me at the moment.
Yeah, we have some input from the live stream from Gabe Miller. He's asking, what are you considering the benchmarks of success what are you considering the benchmarks of success across your MVP as you bring it to market? I think it's hard to outsource until you have a good market validation of your MVP. That's from Gabe Miller on the internet.
Yeah, I think our goal is mainly to figure out what customer acquisition costs would be at this point. So what does it take to sell a unit? I think that's going to drive a lot, but also it's going to help us to figure out, and then we want to also figure out how to optimize the offering. So we're selling the coaching really inexpensively because we realize that that's market research that we can do and we can watch the videos and see what people get out of it. But I think being able to sell all of the units at less than $10 per person, I don't know. There has to be a profit motive in there. And so customer acquisition costs, if we can get a good handle on that, I think that would be a really big part of our MVP. Please. Sorry, you're going to. The microphone, yeah.
My name is Joseph Evans Carter. I'm into the fitness industry too, so I understand exactly what you're doing here. I think it's phenomenal. And what I see is something to figure out is like the technology gap of the target audience that you'll be dealing with, right? Something else where possibly you could have some local partners that might help with the in-person setup, right? And third, possibly a customer service that will be able to help people as they get the apps and they don't know how to do with it. Those things would be phenomenal. Yeah.
I think you're right, and that's some of the bad and good things we're going to learn in the MVP is how simple did we make this? Apparently, you can't make it simple enough. We've already figured that out. But thanks, everybody. Thank you.
Give it up for Chris one more time. That was amazing. Much success to you, and thank you so much for sharing and being vulnerable with us. We really appreciate you. All right, next up we have Mr. Austin. His company is Rogue Soul Training, and he'll be talking to us about that today.
As Austin is setting up, I did want to plug a couple other things in transition. Thank you guys for participating. It's really helpful, whether you're making a statement, a comment, or a question. You know, as a founder as well, I know that it helps. But co-working spaces are awesome for this, for connecting, for generating ideas, and finding random resources like people who make sand, apparently. So Pursuit, they offer daily and monthly and weekly passes, and so does Hurston Manor. Hurston Manor is the YPOC house, essentially. It's over in Shipoke, right on Front Street. So that's another option. There's a wellness room in there, and then we have shared space and a single office, 3 floors and outdoor space. So there's opportunities for you to get out there in safe ways, but in a lot of different circles. So networks connecting with networks. That's the key to go. How many other, Chris, is there a social media people can follow you on? Or is that by chance? Should LinkedIn may be the best way to connect with you? Okay. Okay.
I joined early, so I'm at Shimano.
Okay. Awesome. Thanks again, Chris. Are we good? All right, Austin. The floor is yours.
All right, so I had a video set up for everybody that my guy back there helped me collaborate with the Searcher film, but because of the audio setup, what we're going to do is we're going to figure out a way to get you guys the video post presentation. Okay, so we're going to move along with the presentation. So first things first, I love fitness, I love health, I love community. So if you all could help me out real quick, I'm gonna have everybody stand up. Okay. All right, so before we get started, you just had an awesome presentation from my guy Chris, wherever he is around this room here. So we're gonna shake it out a little bit, shake it out just to get loose. I'm a little nervous up here, so I wanna get rid of my nerves a little bit, all right? So do me a favor and raise the roof, raise the roof. All right, we're gonna go up and down. Do some shoulder pressing, all right? Now we're gonna go into some bread baskets, so get some room in front of you here. All right, so we're gonna reach our toes, and then we're gonna come up to the top, raising the roof. All right. Now I'm just how you shake it out. Shake it out, shake it out. Loose. Excellent, excellent. My next one is 50 push-ups, but I'm not gonna make that. All right. I got it. All right, so what I want to talk about today, I'll give you a brief introduction of who I am and what prompted this method that I'm going to discuss with you. So my name is Austin Qualls. I'm from Akron, Ohio, originally. I was a 3-3 ambassador growing up, meaning the eyes and ears for LeBron, so I did a lot of mentorship with children. My little brother was one of those 3-3 or one of those third graders that we mentored. After I graduated high school, I went to the Navy. So when I went to the Navy, I had a very interesting experience, and I joined that organization because I wanted to find a brotherhood. I wanted to find a community of excellence. I wanted to go to do something that would give me a structure and a discipline that I could take and use in the real world, because I liked that growing up. So upon me getting out the military, I had my ups and downs, right? I had my ups and downs, and I had a moment where I really needed something, and that was something I was going to show you in this video that you'll get to see later. But I had to really fight for what I felt like was my freedom, because I was boxed in my mind, in my heart, and I felt like I was lost. So upon me searching that out, I found a gym, and it was a boxing gym, and that head coach, he showed me a lot of grace, and when he showed me that grace, he let me work out in that gym for free for however long I go back there, I work out now. I wanted to take that with me. And so what I did when I created Rogue Soul was I wanted to create an entity and an organization that supported health, fitness, and community, and help people overcome those elements that they were experiencing. Upon me doing that, again, you find new things out. You figure out, like, the physical piece isn't enough, because people come work out with you, And then they go home and they're going to broken relationships, or they're going and they're tired because they have children and they're working 2 jobs. And so you realize there's so many other elements to this than just physical fitness, and you have to speak to their mental. You got to speak to their emotional, and that's what a 3D athlete is. So there's 3 elements in the 3D concept that's going to be designed. The design is the function of something. We're designing this to function a certain way to accomplish a certain task. This is a brief illustration so you understand when you're designing something, you have to focus. You have to find that focus. Diet. We have 2 different elements with diet. We have the nutritional diet, and you have a diet as in regimen, right? Something that you are designing for yourself that you're going to stick to over a course of time to accomplish that task, right? So you have your design, and then you have the method of how you're going to accomplish it. All right, so we talked a little bit about adding by subtraction in Chris's presentation, and that's exactly what this is illustrating here. So you can't, it's a forward-feeding system, and we have to break that cycle. And then we have dedicate, right? So staying dedicated to that process, understanding that you're going to have your ups and downs, and that along that process, that those ups and downs are just lessons versus failures. Okay, awesome. All right, so all of this goes into that mindset that we have to distinguish the difference between the fixed mindset and the growth mindset. So designing something that is going to push you a little bit, get you out that comfort zone, and that's going to allow you to crack that code and get out of that fixed mindset where you're a little stagnated. All right, so upon the 3D method, there's a phrase called deep health. Deep health is when we talk about that whole circle of elements when it comes to the physical, the spiritual, the financial, the social, all of those elements here. So we're going to look at that a little bit here. So deep health is going to be all of it. This illustration here shows you all of the different pieces that we all possess, and that every day we go to work, we sacrifice one of them. When we go home, we sacrifice another one. When we go to church, we sacrifice another one. When we go hang out with our friends, we sacrifice another one. So you're never going to fulfill each of those at one time, but you have to have a system that you've designed in order to make sure you're sacrificing the right way, with intent, with purpose. So we're going to break down these different Ds that are a little bit expanded from the 3 Ds that I initially told you. So design. You're the architect. You're the architect of your life. And so what we have to do is take our time and look at what we want to accomplish. And then we have to say, okay, this is how I'm going to accomplish this. It's the blueprint to your life. It's the blueprint to whatever you want to achieve. So we're going to design objectives that serve that mission. Diet. So what I like to say is that you have a grocery list. When you go to the grocery store, you have a grocery list of things that you're going to purchase so that you don't veer. I know me, myself, if I'm hungry and I go to the grocery store, it's going to be a bad day, right? Because I'm going to buy all kind of crazy stuff when I'm in there. So how are we fueling our systems, right? How are we fueling our physical and our emotional and our mental? What are we digesting every day that is either pulling us from our purpose or pushing us to our purpose? And every time you make a decision, you have to think about the consequences of that action. So if you go and you say, I'm going to watch some TV, all right, are you feeding or are you starving yourself of what you could be doing to get to that next level in your life? And considering those things is going to allow us to develop this right here. So these values are the core values of Rogue Soul, my company here. Curiosity, drive, integrity, and compassion. Anytime I'm making decisions, right, I bounce those decisions off of these core values, and if they don't make sense, if they don't align, then I can't do them, right? That doesn't mean it's a perfect list, but it just means that you have some type of guideline to say, these are my design, this is what I'm trying to accomplish, and this is how I'm going to accomplish it by using these core values. Develop meaningful connections. So on my course of being an entrepreneur and on my course of being a trainer, I've realized that most of my growth has come from conversations with people who are wiser, more experienced, better than me in some area. I went 3 weeks to Arkansas and I got to sit under some great coaches and different mentors and different things like that. And what I learned in that moment is that you're never going to know enough. And so I'll use this phrase: ignorance is infinite and knowledge is finite. So you're never going to know enough. So you have to have people around you who are willing to sharpen you up and keep you accountable. And we do that by creating a culture of community and excellence. If everybody around you is doing their best, then you have to be on your P's and Q's. Discipline. Discipline and dedication are probably my favorite ones here, because discipline is everything. So in order to get to that goal, we have to stay disciplined. And I also want to speak on the fact that discipline has a bad context to it, right? I have 3 children, right? I have a 5-year-old, 4-year-old, and a 1-year-old, 2 girls and 1 boy. My boy's the youngest. And growing up, my thought process on discipline was one thing. And then I grew up and I became an adult and I realized discipline was a whole different thing. Discipline is how you become a millionaire. Discipline is how you become extremely successful in whatever field you're in. Discipline is how you get the body that you want. I love this phrase here, so I kind of created my own version of it, but I'll give him his credit. Zig Ziglar said this. He said, a train off the tracks is free, but can go nowhere. I say undoubtedly because if you're off the tracks, you're not going anywhere. You're going to stir in the mud. You're going to stir in the mud. So when we create the disciplines for ourselves, we get our constraints. We get our guidelines, right? And we drive within those guidelines. We're going to get to my boxing coach would say, the easiest way to throw a jab is to go straight. That's how you get from A to B. You go straight. And if you're jumping from here to here, it's going to take a very long time. And so we need something to keep us on track. And the next one is a proverb that I love, is a man without self-control is like a city broken into and left with no walls. Right? So we have to maintain the constraints in our lives and the disciplines that are going to allow us to proceed. And the last one is dedication. Dedication is the sum of focus and endurance. I'm an endurance athlete, right? And endurance is not about skill necessarily, but it's about mindset. If you go on a run, if you go on a 5-mile run, a 10-mile run, a marathon, it's never easy. It's never going to be an easy task to accomplish. It's always going to be a little tough, and you're always going to have somebody in you saying, yo, this sucks. Like, this is not fun, right? I went on a 2-mile run the other day, but I wanted a challenge, so I put on a 20-pound weight vest, and before I went on that run, I made a post, and I said, yo, this is really going to suck. Like, this is not going to be fun. And people think, like, you're fit. No, it sucks. But I know what I'm preparing myself for. I know why I'm doing this. I have an intention. I have a mission that I'm trying to accomplish. And so I focus on that mission, and I focus one step at a time. And then that's how you build up that endurance. And that's also, again, the sum that we get, which is dedication. So what is your role in whole human health, right? Which is the whole scope of what we're talking about. It's the 3D model. It's the deep health model. It's whole human health. This is what I have to say to you guys, and my question to you in terms of what I'm trying to accomplish and how I believe we can accomplish this. Rogue Soul desires to serve our community at a higher and deeper level. Marketing is more than just cool ads, and it's information and understanding. So in order to have a true market that you're trying to serve, you have to understand their needs, you have to understand their wants, right? But we have to make sure we can serve them with value and impact. Research and data allows us to provide what is needed. And so the 3 bullet points that I kind of outlined that kind of give you a little bit of what I would believe to be my ask is financial support. That financial gives us obviously the means to accomplish certain marketing tactics that we like to employ. It gives us access to comprehensive information, education, and resources from credible sources, because a lot of this you have to pay for. You got to pay for research. You got to pay for data. You got to pay for these different things in order to have data that is sourced from a viable resource. And then funding for positively remarkable marketing. Now, I'll explain that last one here. Positively remarkable marketing is creativity with intent and purpose. There's a lot of ads out there in the world that it's just like trying to pull on you, right? It want to make you feel bad, want to make you think about your insecurities, want you to feel like, man, I just went through that yesterday, whatever that may be for you. And so what we want to do is have intent and purpose behind it, really giving people what they need again. So the idea behind the marketing piece is that social, economic, and technological environments that elevate health, fitness, and community. And that's what I'm trying to create with the 3D health model, with Rogue Soul, and our next steps. And I'll leave you with this here. Either write something worth reading about or do something worth writing about. And that's what we're doing here today. Thank you.
I can kick us off with a question. I thought your presentation was definitely enlightening, clearly needed. There's a need for what you're doing. So I'm just curious to know, when we're talking about data, maybe the data that you've already accumulated to date, plus the data and research that would help you scale and increase your scope and impact. How do you, maybe what data points are you looking for? How, someone asked Chris this question too, but what are your metrics for success? How do you determine, how do you know when it's working or not? Talking to the mic, please. Okay. Thank you.
No worries. So let me take this out. So that's a great question, and I would say the metrics for success in Rogue Soul is that a lot of time it's going to be an individual case, right? So I say that because when we're training an individual, right, their success is based on their experience with us and what their goals were. When we're marketing to people, our goal is that we reach as many people to come in and either do some online training with us or to come in for a personalized session. We have different offerings in terms of one-on-one sessions, or we're doing online training, or if we're doing just the assessment so that they understand where they are as an athlete. But I wouldn't say that we have a clear metric for success when it comes to, okay, we're going to get this many follows or this many pulls from Google or what that may be. Does that answer your question?
It does. And then I would pose just a suggestion that, like, you know, I listened to a podcast the other day, and that's what it was saying. Data is king, right? Like, if, one, owning your data, but two, like, how you're able to determine, like, success and then scale through understanding and assessing your data. I would encourage you, as I'm taking my own encouragement as well, is to find the data points that you can then say, well, this is how I know it's working. This is how I know this is the model that's needed, because these people, after they've come here, this is what they look like, this is what they're doing, etc.
Okay. Thank you.
The floor is open.
So just for me to understand again,
Yes.
could you re-summarize the problem that you wanted us to help you address?
So the problem is marketing, right? I'm challenging the status quo in marketing in terms of going online and just saying, like, hey, this is how you get a body like mine, right? And actually giving people results. But I'll tell you this, my problem and the thing that I really discover is that people are intimidated. So I had, at one point, I had a massage therapist in my gym, right? It was very easy to say, hey, we give massages. They're like, yep, I'm in there, right? Literally, you open the door as my gym. They're like, yep. And they're about facing and they're hitting a different direction. So my point is that it's difficult to give people what they need if they're always intimidated by the fact that we're about to be training. He said it, right? Training is scary sometimes. And they look at me and they're like, nah, man, you're going to have me doing burpees and backflips and all kind of stuff. And it's like, I'll meet you where you are. But I have to explain that to everybody first, right? So I would say that.
Okay, good. So I wanted to make sure I heard it right, because I be sometimes misinterpreting things. So here's a point to consider. You said something important that I wanted to make sure I heard it again, just to make sure. You said a body like yours. So you talked about also intimidation, people being intimidated. Consider that people may be intimidated by the fact that your body is the goal, right? Because all bodies are different. So helping people get to a body that they love might be a better goal for them, right? And it also speaks to a more tailored way of approaching fitness and health for anyone, right? Because a body like yours, or a body that, no, this is no diss, no tea, no shade.
You're fine.
A body like yours is very much within the very narrow definition of what body should look like, right? So when we start re-transforming the way we think about different bodies, we also re-transform what is normal, and we re-transform what is supposed to be the achievable thing. So just something to think about when you're talking about marketing, because I already know my body can never look like yours, but it could look like mine in a better state, right? In a better, whatever better means. Better may not be thinner.
Yeah,
better
absolutely.
may be more muscular. I feel like I, want to pump up my butt, whatever.
Yeah.
Just a thing to think about.
Absolutely. Thank you.
I wanted to throw out healthy Harrisburg. Like, I hear what you're saying. Like, how can you increase the culture of the region to make it normalized? It like, oh, we all work out.
Yeah.
All of the local companies and major best places to work at in Central PA offer their employees memberships at local gyms and things like that. Like,
That's right.
I would implore you to tap into the city and municipal level because Healthy Harrisburg is a new thing. I learned about it during Juneteenth. The city of Harrisburg is putting money into this campaign of Healthy Harrisburg, right? Like, that's how I started with the pop-ups in Third and the Berg. I was like, well, no one's doing Third and the Berg, no one's tapping into that campaign, but things like that spread across multiple businesses. And then I do think local employers should be investing in the community in those ways. And if we look at the top 10 companies that employ the most people in this region, the government, et cetera, like, what are they doing for their employees? Maybe that's a thought. But question.
So you have a gym? Okay,
Yes.
and who's your target market?
So my target market are business executive leaders and managers, but then I also have another portion of my brand that targets specifically for service members, uniformed individuals.
So that should inform where you market too. Like, how you go to market should be related to reaching that specific audience. If you're going on general social, general website, you're spreading yourself too thin. So that's the first step in marketing, is to figure out who your target market is, really understand that persona, like make a fake person. It doesn't have to be a real person, or it could be somebody that you want to find more people like, and then target them specifically. Where do they shop? Where do they hang out online? Where do they hang out physically? And that's your first step of marketing.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks for your presentation. I was just going to comment. So just thinking about a couple of ideas for you for marketing, I think oftentimes it's easy for any of us who are working in a space to sort of get caught in the space and forget maybe the deeper needs that are being met by our space. And so thinking about, I read a book once by Dave Crenshaw where he said, buy want and upsell need. So what is it that your customer wants from what your activity or your product actually is? So, I want to be fit might be the kind of the obvious thing, or I want to be an elite athlete, if that's, how you'd say it. But then what's the deeper kind of want behind that? When I heard your presentation, one of the things that was impressive to me was that it seems like you're delivering some level of clarity, of vision for life. So I may want to be an elite athlete, but the deeper reason I may want that is because I want the sense of accomplishment, I want the sense of clarity, I want the sense of purpose, whatever that is. And so I just encourage you to think about a couple of those things and let those come through in your marketing as well, because I think that will also differentiate you from your competition. Because the next gym is maybe not delivering that same thing. When I get an ad from Planet Fitness, it's a different, they're not talking about that. They're talking about $10 a month, easy to sign up.
We don't talk about
cancel
Planet
anytime, but it's a different value
No, I'm just
proposition.
kidding.
Yeah. And so that you shouldn't be looking for the same customer,
That's
not
right.
the same value proposition. So
I
I think
appreciate
you've got
that.
a couple of things there that might be worth selling that aren't just fitness, and it'd be good to capitalize on.
Thank you. Is it OHO? Auto? Thank you.
Hi there. On
Hello.
this side of the pole. Did I hear you say one of your targets is managers,
That's
business
right.
owners and stuff?
That's right.
So you are hoping they would offer this as a benefit to their employees? Is that the idea?
That is a piece of it, yes.
Okay. Well, then I'll just give you something extremely specific. You might have already thought about this, but just do some searching, find every HR group and every chamber of commerce and any kind of manager peer group in whatever county region you're looking for. I mean, Lancaster, York, Harrisburg, and Lebanon, they all have a SHRM, which is Society for Human Resource Management. They all have multiple chamber of commerces, right? They can get down small. They're all going to have leadership development programs. These are programs that usually have monthly meetings and are always looking for speakers. You got a great presentation. Just put together a 15, 20-minute presentation and try to give that at as many of those places as you can.
I appreciate that, Steve.
It's for our online folks.
Oh, okay, great. Everyone online, great. I'll just share it. Do you know Ivan Black by chance?
Yes, that's actually
Yeah,
a
so
good friend
I
of mine.
worked with Ivan Black, worked as a client of his.
Okay.
Never exercised, did the one-on-one group training, one-on-one, and then did group training and watched his business, increase. Then he moved up there to 6th Street.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And
Yep.
then COVID hit and it sort of went hybrid mode and different things. And, to me, because I used to talk to Ivan all the time, how are you going to grow the business? I couldn't figure it out. Because the problem is, quite honestly, the people that are not fit don't come in there, right?
That's
It's
right.
only people that are, in my view, somewhat fit. And But Ivan was like this. He had that, I didn't even look at his resume, right? I just saw those muscles and said, hey, you're good enough for me, right?
That's right.
And that was no joke. And, and even to this day, now I'm going to a gym over at Blitz 45 over in,
Yeah, right
it's the
across.
same thing.
Yep.
It's the exact same thing. It's functional body training, calisthenics, and I think I pay $110 a month. I'm in a small group fitness class. That's the problem. It's a price point. You know what I mean? Like Planet Fitness is $9.95 a month, and their business is 10,000 people sign up and don't go.
That's right.
You know what I mean? That is their model. But how you attract and then the last thing I'll just share with you is that I watched him when he first started out. All the exercises were just on index cards, handwritten.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And then you try to morph into having a video screen and morph into all this technology. And it was never better when we used index cards. At one point we morphed into having a book, but I think that individual book of, hey, last week he had this, it was a lot more work for him. And maybe, I think he got frustrated with having to do all that stuff, and that's why he thought the technology, but never needed any of the video stuff, never needed even the heartbeat, feedback loops, none of that stuff. It's really, I found the connection with the person, you know what I mean? And so if that helps you, I don't know, but.
Oh, I love it. Thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah,
All right.
Yeah, I
Thank you.
appreciate it. Anyone else? I appreciate you guys, just so you know, I really appreciate this feedback.
So one of the things I wanted to ask is, in regard to marketing, what is it that you're going to be marketing? Is it going to be coaching sessions with you? Is it going to be a product or service? Like, what is, you're saying that you want to make a positive impact in the community with your marketing. What is it that you are positioning yourself for to sell? Is it specifically the coaching side of things? Is it, promoting a healthy lifestyle? Is it, do you have any kind of a tangible item that you're selling? Or is it you're selling yourself, your brand, you as an instructor or you as a trainer? And then the further extension of that is, just like the other gentleman was doing, there's tons of different options in regard to connecting with a marketing company. You can go with the local company, or you can use something like Fiverr or Upwork or whatever, any of those types of things. And, most of the time, based off of what that product, that service, or whatever is, you would either do photo shoots or video shoots specifically about that service. I'm sure everyone in this room right now knows how Instagram has changed from photos to videos.
Yep.
People don't want to read anymore. They would much rather watch a video for 45 seconds than read for 2 minutes.
Yep.
And the savings of time is literally 90 seconds. However, we live in such a fast-paced environment and world that watching a video real quick while you're multitasking doing something else is possible. You can't really multitask while you're reading. I mean, you could try and cook while you're reading, but you're probably going to burn something. So, the video kind of gives a good way to do it. And it sounds like you're already doing video, and I'm probably repeating a bunch of stuff you already are, kind of know. But my main question, though, was what is it that you're selling based off of, I'm kind of wishing that everyone got the chance to see the video, because I'm sure your video probably explained a lot more additionally, too. But that was kind of my thoughts, and, what is the actual service or product that you're selling?
So on the front end, it's personal training, right? I'm a personal trainer. We do small groups. What I am pivoting to and what I'm really pushing right now and offering is going to be the group training, right? Small group training, because there's a method, again, in this 3D model, which is 4 quarters, right? You have different 4 quarters, and that to get away from all the existential stuff and all the philosophies behind why I do it that way, I'm offering group training. And what I have is a 3D athlete workbook. So one thing I didn't get to speak about much is I'll just answer it within this question is you are all athletes in this room. Everybody in here is an athlete in some field, whether you're a business athlete or you're a parent athlete, right? You're some type of athlete, right? And the reason that we're athletes is because we're competitive in nature, right? We want to be the best, or we want to exceed our own standards, right? We want to be good at whatever we're doing. And so what I'm doing is creating the community out of these group training classes and having a workbook on which you can track not just workouts, not just goals, but what kind of life you want to live, right? What do you want out of life? What do you want out of yourself? Again, at that 3-week leadership camp that I went to, we filled out a purpose blueprint, right? And that was huge for me because what it helped me do is redefine my purpose. Why am I coaching? Why am I training? Why am I a parent? Why do I want to be a certain type of parent? And really understanding your purpose through all things. And that's going to allow people to just really, again, build that community where it's supporting each other. It's a loop that we are in now, right? So we have businesses that are supporting the health and fitness of their employees. The employees are going out being better parents, right? And now you have kids in the education system and they're thriving. So that's really the goal, right? Is build groups so that they have a community of fitness, and then that'll hopefully have a domino effect.
Gotcha. So now, as an extension of that, just to really kind of take it from what you gave me now to give back, like, with whatever the service is, whether it is a tangible good or a service where you're, I'm guessing if someone signs up to be, for you to be their trainer, you meet with them, like once a week, twice a week, 3 times a month, or whatever.
3 times.
Yeah, so it's pretty much, based off of whatever that schedule is. What I'm getting at, though, is a lot of things, I don't know if you know what the term LTD is, but LTD is a new term that's been popping up all over the internet lately, and what it is it's a lifetime deal. Now, obviously, giving someone a lifetime deal of your time is not as easy as giving someone a lifetime deal of a software or of a service like that where it's using a software or whatever. However, you doing and selling, say for example, your usual sessions are $150 per session, giving people a way to buy 12 sessions for the whole entire year up front, and instead of it being $150, we're going to only charge $75. You know what I mean? And it kind of goes off the gym mentality, because you know how gyms work, man. Yeah. Gyms want to sell you that membership, and then they want you to forget about it, and then they just keep charging you and charging you and charging you. And I don't know, I feel like that could be a good thing for marketing. Getting people to commit to anything long term is super difficult these days. However, if you are gifting or if you're selling your packages in here's a 6-month session package, or here's a 12-month, it gives people more of a long-term mentality, and it kind of helps work with that. And who's to say, for example, for us, we have a co-working space just like the guys here. Sometimes people leave on vacation for 2-3 weeks. If you make it flexible where, hey, you buy this, and it's good for 12 months, and if you can't do 1 month, we could push it over 1 or something. Now, obviously, you don't want to make it so easy where people could easily exploit you or anything like that, but getting that mentality up front of this is a long-term commitment. You can't go to the dentist once every 6 years and expect good results from the dentist, and it's the same thing with a gym membership, or it's the same thing with your health and your fitness, and people having that big bank of time might be a beneficial thing, and it might get people to kind of, if someone's paying for a year's service up front, that's almost, $800, $900 for you, which kind of gives you that infusion. And that's exactly how the lifetime deal community does it in the software development area. It's kind of like how Kickstarter and Indiegogo work, that kind of same concept applied to it.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions? So I'm still not sure that you're clear on your specific value proposition. I think you're still afraid to nail this is what I do. Until you do that, you're not going to have a really clear way to go to market. So you really have to understand who your customer is. You have some good ideas on how to reach the ones you said you wanted to reach, but then you changed it. So there's nothing wrong with expanding from that, but figure out where the sweet spot is, where you can really make a difference, and there's a market for you. And it might take some testing and trial and error. I mean, I could tell you with my business, I spun around a lot. And it was when you hit it, when you figure it out, and it might not happen the first go, the light bulb will go, it'll be like sun comes through the clouds and hits you. That's how it felt for me. So keep trying, but you got to define it where you can't be like, I'm well this, I'm in that, I'm this and that, and because nobody's going to know what you do. So once you figure out what you are and who you're serving, the marketing will come easy. And I just wish you all the best. I think you got a great message, and you just have to find that lane. I think it's awesome.
Thank you.
I think what your value proposition is social well-being equality, because basically you want to connect the community as well as the corporate people together. So it's not just what they do inside of the gym, it's what you can bring them together to do outside of the gym as well. That's what, some of the group events, some online coaching processes, those kind of things, as well as like the marketing and the funding. You already know you're great at relationship marketing with people, finding those people that want to actually invest into your marketing for the, let's say, the community that can't afford personal training, that don't have access to it. Everybody always has the same thing in mind, because you're not specifically telling people what their goals should be. You're just exposing you're just exposing yourself to people that have an obsession for growth, no matter what it is. Like Kamika, she said, her body goals or another person's body goals may not be like yours. That's not your intention. Your intention is for you to be the best that you want to be. That's the only thing that you want for people. So it's just constantly communicating that and making those connections that you're already making, doing a phenomenal job that you're doing.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, brother.
Jamar.
Hello. First of all, I'm just grateful that you even presented. I am a client of Rogue Soul Training, and the reason why I picked that gym is the customer service. I think customer service is really important, especially when you have somebody like me who has a Planet Fitness membership, which, listen, I'm going to keep it because any city you go to, if you ever have to use the bathroom or stop, you can always go to Planet Fitness. They have Wi-Fi and showers. But I think that at Rogue Soul Training, one of the things that I get is you get that collaboration that is missing from a lot of the big box gyms. And so I think really emphasizing the customer service, because at the end of the day, everybody has brands and companies, but it's the people behind the brands that people are, how they make their final decision. And so I would say emphasizing the customer service piece and asking people, like, do feedback with your customers. And so for me, I like the intimacy of it, the one-on-one and the customization. And also it's encouraging, but it's not too much, and so, and I also like that it's a safe space where I could bring my daughter. My daughter was here earlier, then her friend called, wanted to play with her, and so I had to drop her off. But I like that, it's a safe space for families to really talk about, what is our health track going to do? Because I know in my family personally, a lot of different things run in my family when we're talking about different health concerns. So thank you, and thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Whoa, we did good, y'all. It's 6:30 on the dot. Okay, so first of all, can we get another round of applause for our two speakers this evening? We want to also thank big ups to our community partners, everyone who has supported. Can we get a show of hands? How many people have been to more than one Keystone Merge? That's awesome. It truly is, as someone who's been to at least 3 or 4 maybe. It's a different experience every single time, from the stakeholders that are in the room to the presenters and the concepts that they're pitching. So I think it's exciting. They always, small businesses are the backbone of America. For smart cities and cities really to thrive, for cities to be the kind that you want to live, work, and play in, we need small businesses to thrive. So your investment of your time is appreciated, valued, and we hope you keep investing. So thank y'all. Thank all the community partners. Any entrepreneurs, any entrepreneurs that you know of that maybe aren't here, push them to get in spaces and rooms and on stages like this. I'll be pitching next month. So I'm joining the team. So you'll hear my pitch next month, the first Thursday of every month. So next month we're actually going to be in Lancaster at Franklin and Marshall College, F&M. So that's exciting. But yeah, let folks know that it doesn't cost them to get in front of a room like this. There's only potential return. So please encourage, whether it's yourself or other businesses that you see who really have some sort of special sauce, secret sauce, tell them to encourage them to come up on the mic. We welcome all entrepreneurs from all industries. And again, shout out to Marie's Kitchen, who come September, you'll actually be able to taste on a regular basis at the Broad Street Market. So if you're familiar with Southern Market, if you haven't been to the market here in Harrisburg, it's 3 blocks walking distance over on Verbeck Street, Broad Street Market, and Marie's Kitchen will be there in another month or 2. There's clearly a ton of food left. The griots, which is pork, plantain, we still have some beef patties and rice, so please help yourself, hang out, get to know people in the room. Like I said, there's stakeholders from chambers to the city to other entrepreneurs and experts, clearly, people with some insight that you want to get to know. So hang out, have a snack, let's get to know each other, and hopefully I'll see y'all. Come support me at next month's pitch. Thank you. Thank you, Alexa and Helen, for all that y'all do, too. Y'all are real MVPs.